Hi, welcome back to the Century America's Times. This is Peter Jennings, and tonight we're going to be discussing the science and technological achievements from the 1990s to the present day. We hope you enjoy this podcast very much.
Hey, next, el orfanato.
Three D printing is a process by taking digital images and converting it into a 3D object. And this can be done by taking a downloaded or created object. What the 3D printers does is it slices it into layers, and then it could lay these individual layers down on top of each other using a type of material. And this material, when piled on top of each other, dries quickly and allows for objects to form, and that's 3D printing.
3D printers in the near future will be used in space. NASA has already been doing some research where they built fuel injectors for rockets out of a 3D printer. Like the 3D printer physically printed parts of a rocket ship. And the advantages of this is that instead of having to take spare all these different kinds of parts, you can just bring a 3D printer and a little bit of each of the material cartridges you need to build that. And you can just have whatever you want on demand. If something changes, it can be put in that system. It's a very good advance to science and space. Hi, Peter Jennings here. After the year 1999, the American society as well as the entire world was gripped by a fear known as the Y2K bug, or year 2000 bug. This bug, as some would call it, was supposed to be supposedly a malfunction in the computers all across the world. People had the fear that this malfunction would impede all computers in the world working and could affect various forms of communication as well as business and day-to-day enjoyment of your life. So, we have a specialist, Noah Gottesman, coming on next to discuss the details.
Within the year 1999, it arose to computer scientists that from the transfer of millennium, that it would create a problem in computers because they wouldn't recognize the change in millennium. And this became a global fear that this would cause computers to crash and possibly nuclear rockets to go off and all that nonsense. Of course, it didn't happen because we're still here today, but back then it was a pretty big fear. But luckily, we cleared it up and everything's fine.
Once 2000 occurred in society, the year January 1st, 2000, when everyone woke up, surprisingly, there was no computers that had problems. I mean, there was the few glitches every then and there, but ultimately and essentially there was not any damage that was reported. Like, everyone thought every single computer would be bugged and virus, but that was not what happened due to this. There was the few glitches, but besides from that, it was all good. And some of the machines that were supposed to be affected by this were some computers, surveillance equipment, some lighting systems, some fax machines, and some vehicles, and process monitoring systems. The reason I laugh is because we can laugh at it now because it already occurred, but people back then, though, they weren't laughing. It was really a scary and serious issue. So, yeah, and now I'm going to give you guys to Peter Jennings.
Hi guys, it's Peter Jennings. Right now we will be discussing the invention of the company SpaceX, a company which will soon be flying commercial flights to Mars and the Moon. But it's a long distance from now, time-wise, and yeah, we have our first specialist, Timmy Mock, to talk about it. Timmy?
Hi, Timmy Mock, a space expert for SpaceX, X as in X, not X as in expert. To begin, in the recent years, around 2012, middle of the year, SpaceX has sent a rocket ship to the International Space Station to exchange cargo payloads. Rustling papers all over the country. Newspapers are flying open with these interesting news. This SpaceX company has already proven its worthiness with sending stuff into the sky and to the moon. And if they've already now linked up with the International Space Station, proven that they have what it takes to be the first commercial company in the history of the world to travel to space, who knows what they can accomplish? These dreams of going to Mars and the moon do not seem far at all.
Hi. Also, another thing that the SpaceX company had launched is the Dragon's capsule, and they did this in 2010 of December, and it carried a wheel of cheese into orbit. And this was significant because it was one of the first, well, it was the first rocket that they ever launched. And this was a successful orbit. And also, the SpaceX officials, they hinted that the Dragon was carrying special cargo into space, but the company did not reveal the secret payload until after the spacecraft had returned from the orbit and splashed down into the Pacific Ocean. So I'm now going to give you back to Peter Jennings.
Oh, hi, Peter Jennings here. In 1990, Watson and Crick, two geneticists, scientists, were working on a 14-year-long project that concluded in 2004 with the goal to one day sequence the entire genome of a human. Now, this was very significant because with this new information, medical companies, science-related human biology advances can be done. We now know, because this has already been completed, we now know all of the genes, and we learned a lot about their expressions, so we can figure out the traits of people and hopefully develop new drugs and really advance the human race as a whole due to this great discovery.
Hi. Now I'm going to be discussing some of the facts that have been derived from the Human Genome Project. The first fact that has been derived from the Human Genome Project is the fact that there is 30,000 to 40,000 genes in the human genome. Also, another fact that has been found from it, which is pretty major, is that most of the mutations occur in the males. Alright, so now I'm going to hand you guys over to Noah.
Watson and Crick were the two scientists who completed the Human Genome Project. Their laboratory that they operated out of was on Long Island, and the discoveries they made on the 30 to 40,000 genes in the human genome sequence, they actually found out what most of each individual genes do and what functions they perform in the body. This is very significant because, like, nothing on this scale of a scientific research report has ever been completed, and it's very scientific, and it's good for like curing diseases.
Peter Jennings here. I have two experts with me who will report about the 2003 Space Shuttle disintegration in the Earth's atmosphere.
Agreed.
Upon re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, the Space Shuttle Columbia lost one of its heat panels. This actually caused the spaceship to overheat, and upon re-entry, it disintegrated due to the immense amount of heat caused by re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. The spaceship exploding or disintegrating in the atmosphere killed all 7 astronauts on board. It was a real catastrophe, and this disbanded NASA for several months.
Hi. Furthermore, for this incident, 6 of the 7 astronauts were citizens of the United States, while the 7th astronaut for this incident was a citizen of Israel. Also, George Bush, who was the president at the time, told the nation in shock that Columbia is lost and that there are no survivors. Now I'm going to give you guys back to Peter Jennings. Hi. In 2011, the STS-135 touched down, which ended the space program. And this was a major event in the history of the United States. Now I'm going to give you to Noah to take over.
A rocket that landed in July of 2011, the STS-135, its main objective in space was to transport goods and objects to the International Space Station for further use and for future use. Since then, the International Space Station hasn't been used much since NASA has been ended for now. But who knows? Maybe in however many years NASA will reopen.
NASA decided to end their space program on a high note with the success of their rocket, Space Shuttle. Although funding of NASA is still going on, they will currently not be traveling to space or doing any missions such as that. Although companies such as SpaceX will still continue to launch into space and have been hinting towards possible manned flights into space. They may be using the International Space Station. This concludes the story of the International NASA Space Station.
Come on.
Thanks for watching This Century, America's Time.
And we are Peter
Peter
Jennings.
Hi.
Hey.
What's up? As a group, we've concluded that a good future prediction for the future, will be, since history oftentimes repeats itself and we've been to the moon, that a safe prediction will be eventually, within probably the next 100 years, we will be traveling to Mars. Tim?
And traveling to Mars isn't that big of a deal because as of now we already have unmanned rovers there, we have satellites orbiting the planet, And we think that landing there is a great possibility because some of the satellites orbiting are taking images of the land to try to find good areas to land ships possibly in the future of good level ground, good terrain, not too hot, not too cold, just all together good climate. So
Yeah, and also one of the other reasons that is probably possible is because right now it takes 3 days to get from the Earth to the Moon, and then, however, uh, to go from the Earth to Mars, it would take 150 to 300 days. However, the only reason we haven't done this yet is because our spaceships aren't fast enough and big enough, and the technology is just not met yet to succeed those requirements. However, if we ever do come up with spaceships like that, it's very possible that in the future this will happen, that we'll be able to travel to Mars. So, this was our show, and we're glad that you watched.